Bring in a bit of analysis on this particular story. Mwendia Nyaga now joins us from the Kenyan capital. He's got decades of experience in the oil and gas sector, including as a stint as CEO of the state-owned entity National Oil Corporation. Thank you very much for your time this evening. So walk us through how this proposed alternative fuel importation system will work. What will it do that the current OTS, the open tender system, does not?
My expectation is that, from the mechanics of it, I don't think it will be very different in terms of how the supply chain will work. The oil is expected to come to Kenya, and then one of the marketers is expected to work the system to distribute the petroleum to other marketers, just as what happens today. The main change that would be there is what has just been mentioned in regard to the payment, that the payment is possible to delay the payment for 6 months, and therefore there'll be some savings in the foreign exchange that is flowing out of the country.
So the current thinking, from what I've read on this plan, is that government will have National Oil handling some of that procurement. But, I mean, this is a firm that can't get a clean audit report, at least based on what we saw in 2021. It's technically insolvent. It's got debt issues domestically. Given all those issues, isn't this plan basically dead on arrival?
Well, there's something, Rama, that is called ring fencing. So if the financiers are going to agree to a system through which the cash flows from these transactions can be ring fenced, and then they are not mixed up with the other debts that the corporation has, then that might work. But it is certainly going to require very sophisticated financial engineering, as they call it, to make it work, especially through that company, because of the problems it is facing.
But, talking about that ring fencing and the importance of making sure that the cash flow goes through the system, the fact is of the matter right now is that a lot of these oil marketing companies are facing cash flow problems, partly because they're not getting the subsidy payments on time. So if that problem was fixed, if they actually had payments coming out of the Petroleum Development Fund going into their coffers on time when it's due, that would solve the bulk of this problem, wouldn't it?
I would expect so, that that would be part of the solution. And in any case, I don't expect that this solution will work without the oil companies cooperating and putting some financial instruments from their bankers on the table. Because if you're talking about delaying payments for 6 months, whoever supplied the petroleum will require some kind of guarantee that they will get paid. And in this case, you use instruments like letters of credit, which is an unconditional promise to pay at a certain date, a certain amount, when the transaction has already happened. So in this case, it's 6 months. But whoever is giving that letter of credit to the supplier will need a backing from the Kenyan side, in which case it's either the government is giving that guarantee, or the petroleum marketers will have to get some back-to-back letters of credit from their banks so that they are able to receive this product paying cash the way they have been paying. Now, whether that system has been well thought out or not is something I don't understand quite well right now.
Indeed, but just as a matter of trust, because with what's happening now, when the fuel cargo comes in, it gets to the port in Mombasa, before it's released into the market, you already have to pay taxes on that. So essentially, we're essentially adding, right, to the tax burden that these oil marketing companies will have to essentially take on to make this plan work. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm not seeing an incentive for these oil marketing companies that are facing tax bills, struggling to get VAT refunds, and at the same time are not even being paid properly on time with fuel subsidies. I'm not seeing a reason for them to take part in this program.
Well, of course, they need the product to be able to sell, because the fact is, if the other regular supply is not coming, and this is the only supply that is going to be there in the market, and they want to stay in business, they probably have to look for a way to make it work. But like I've said earlier, the only way it would help them is if it does save them the cash flow that they're expected to pay to the supplier, that they would pay 6 months later. The question is, how do you ensure that in the 6 months after they have sold the product and pocketed the money because they sell in cash, that they are going to still have the money 6 months later to come and pay? So there may be an incentive there in the delayed payment to the supplier. The tax part, I don't see much change, Rama, in that it is they will pay the tax the usual way that they pay the tax. The incentive is the delayed supplier payment. But what is going to be put on the table to guarantee that they are going to pay? That's the biggest challenge that I see on my part.